Claude Debussy is revered as one of the most influential French composers of all time. Like other musical legends such as Liszt and Chopin, his original advances took the capacities of instrumental music to a new level. Today we're going to have a look at his first arabesque, written in his mid-20s. Debussy had not yet become the great innovator we know now, but these early years laid the foundations of his revolutionary career. The arabesques were written in Paris, shortly after Debussy returned from a short musical education in Rome. The year was 1887. Upon arriving in Paris, Debussy attended the World Fair and became fascinated by the Japanese gamelan music he heard there. This arabesque was published the following year. While the characteristic gamelan texture is not entirely obvious, we can see its influence in the piece's continuous cross rhythms and atypical phrase lengths. Another important thing to know before we get started is that Debussy wrote that, in his mind, that arabesque meant a piece based off of the aesthetics of nature. Quote, the Baroque era was the age of the wonderful arabesque, when music was subject to the laws of beauty inscribed in the movements of nature herself. End quote. That's Debussy himself. This is very apparent to me as I listen, because a tree isn't symmetrical and the falling of a leaf isn't symmetrical, so I suppose if we're going off of nature, our phrase lengths don't need to be symmetrical either. See what you think about that. You've probably heard this piece before, even if just in an elevator or a fancy restaurant. It's written in ternary form, with some interesting twists. I've detailed the phrase lengths here in the timeline. As you can see, they're constantly shifting, and don't rely on the typical 4-bar pattern that Western music was used to. Even the introductory phrase here is 5 measures long, giving off a feeling of elongation. To me, it feels like an unexpected falling into the piece. Let's see what the aural effect of these phrase lengths are. I'll conduct the hypermeter in the corner with my cursor. Beautiful. Thanks, Claude. Now we enter the B section. We've modulated to the subdominant A major, which is a softer feeling than the typical dominant modulation. That plagal cadence, 1-4-1, is traditionally used for the final amens in old Christian choir music, so that's what this makes me think of. Anyway, as you can see here in the timeline, we now have our 4-bar beats. This section is more what we expect from 19th century French music. It's a dance form. The variations in phrase length that you see visually are just from rubato effects. They actually all have the same number of beats. Let's listen. After the B section, we come back to A with some changes because we repeat material but without modulating, just like we expect from ternary form. I do want to listen to the phrase length here at the closing material though. As you can see, we have a 4-bar phrase followed by a 5, which is a gorgeous way to end this wandering motive, like a deep breath at the end of all of it. Here it is. And there it is. Although it's a far cry from Debussy's later and more radical compositions, we can see the beginnings of that great mind implementing themes from nature and from intercontinental styles into the Western roots that he was raised in. Thanks for listening. Hope you learned something.